Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Shift on CKNW News Talk 980. My next guest is a self-proclaimed savoir-vivre, if I'm saying it correctly. J.A. Shapira has deep knowledge of the finer things in life. The freelance journalist experiences, then writes about everything from luxury watches, cigars, yachts, private jets, and clothes. And I also think I want his job. He's also an expert on etiquette and style and is here to share some of his tips with us. How are you, J.A.?
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks. So how do you define what it is that you do exactly?
That's a great question. I mean, like any journalist, my editor will, provide me with a list of topics, and that's what I write about. And I think that I've, like you said, I've probably got the best job in the world. But it really comes down to just having the opportunity to experience an elegant lifestyle that most journalists don't get that opportunity to experience, and it's been a dream so far.
And, we're verging on summertime, so maybe you, with all these experiences that you've gathered from, can pass on some tips so the average gentleman can be not so average. And you recently wrote a whiskey guide for the gents out there, and I was having a browse at it. So how can one delve into the world of whiskey?
Well, I think, whiskey has always been that one drink, or there's a few, but whiskey is definitely in the top of those alcoholic beverages that is more of an experience than a drink. I mean, you don't see guys at the frat parties pounding down, shots of Macallan. It doesn't happen. And so, whiskey has forever been that elegant drink, that drink similar to brandy that you would just sit and sip and, enjoy. And so I think that, the first rule to whiskey is just to try and experience it. There's these hard and fast rules, and I talk about these in my articles at Gentleman's Gazette, but the fact of the matter is take your time, start from scratch, from A. Don't run before you can walk, and I think
or you won't be able to walk.
Exactly, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, and it turns them off from whiskey for good sometimes, because they'll try a really powerful, peaty, smoky dram, something like a 16-year Lagavulin, and they'll take a swig of it and spit it right back out and think it's the most medicinal, horrible thing they've ever tried. But if they start slow and they start with something like an Auchentoshan, or they start with something that's a little bit simpler and gentler, and slowly add water to it and move from there. I mean, it really does become that experience. And for me, it's become an ongoing experience. A lot of people will ask me for my advice, and quite frankly, I like to look at myself as the student, because you're always learning something new. There's always a new flavor profile that's developing in the dram that you've tried 100 different times, and it's really about taking the time to enjoy it and to appreciate it.
And also, I think, as with anything, if you're talking about whiskey or wine or even food, it's just really discovering what your palate likes and enjoying the process.
Absolutely. But I have to say that, if you ever walk into a pub and ask them for a dram of scotch with ice in it, they will probably kick you out. There are hard and fast rules when it comes to drinking scotch, when it comes to drinking some of the other types of whiskeys. And so if you're going to break those rules and you're going to enjoy it on your own terms, sometimes best to just do it in the comfort of your own home.
Well, then let's turn to etiquette. Turn away from whiskey for a moment. Sure. It seems like manners are lost in the world that we live in for the most part. There are some real gentlemen out there. But for those who want to up their game, are there some simple rules when it comes to general etiquette?
Well, I think that it's really just about treating people the way that you would want to be treated, and ensuring that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, no matter who's around you, you're trying to make them feel comfortable. And it doesn't mean being a pushover, and it doesn't mean, constantly opening doors for everybody. I mean, we all go to shopping malls where 100 people walk in under a minute, and you're not a doorman. What it comes down to is stuff like, if you're in a restaurant, put your cell phone away. If you are, on a date, maybe open the door. And it just comes down to making people feel a bit more comfortable. It's like you said, chivalry is a little bit dead. I like to say it's more comatose than dead. But there's a lot of books out there, and almost every major city, especially cities like Vancouver and on the West Coast, they have these trained etiquette, consultants, and you can hire them for, really a reasonable cost, and they'll come to your home and they'll teach you how to properly eat at a formal dinner, how to serve, how to host, how to entertain, even down to how to properly go to a movie. And there's so many rules out there.
Do people go to movies improperly?
Well, I mean, people pull out cell phones and text during movies.
That's
right?
very true.
And so it comes down to just treating others the way you want to be treated. And I think that, there are some rules, like the cell phone rule, that a lot of people break. Picking your nose in public is probably not something you want to do.
Oh, even I knew that one.
So, yes, but how many people do you see on a daily basis that don't, right?
Well, it's true, and you did mention fine dining, and a lot of people, it is a wedding season is upon us. People find themselves at a formal event where they haven't been faced with, 9 or 10 different pieces of cutlery in front of them. And it's not a bad idea, even if you Google it and you don't hire an etiquette expert, to learn these things so you're not embarrassed in a social situation.
There's a really great book called The Routledge Manual of Etiquette. It's quite old, so you have to take it apart a little bit, but it has just about everything you're going to need. And in fact, there's apps that you can get for your smartphone, such as Etiquette Avenue, that are going to give you photos and show you exactly what you need to do. The only suggestion I have is to look at it before you get to the restaurant.
Yeah, because then you'll be the guy on the cell phone who's looking up which fork he should use.
Exactly, absolutely. But, I write for Gentleman's Gazette. I don't write a lot of the etiquette articles. I focus primarily on the spirits and watches and some of the other aspects. But we do have a really great journalist that does a ton of etiquette articles for all different situations, and I would strongly encourage any of your listeners to take a gander at it.
And what about style? How can one up their game if a gentleman wants to do so in the style department?
Well, the closest any man should ever come to touching denim shorts is helping a woman out of them. That's kind of the first rule. When in doubt, go with the classics. The white Oxford shirt you can't go wrong with. There are certain types of clothing that are just not going to go to style. And a navy suit or a navy blazer paired properly with a white Oxford shirt and a pair of chinos can go a long way. I think that the goal is simplicity, and it's to make sure that you're not trying to overdo it. I see so many guys, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, who are going out there and buying the pre-tied bow ties and throwing them on, and they're these bright colors, and they think they look fantastic. And, I mean, really, they don't. If you want to wear a bow tie, take the extra time to learn how to properly tie it. It's as simple as going on YouTube and watching a video. But when it comes to style, when it comes to summer style, the classics are what I try and stick with. I focus more on the grooming side of things. I'm the brand ambassador for American Crew, and so I really focus on the grooming, on the manscaping more than the actual clothing. And so because clothing isn't an area that I specialize in, I really do go back to basics.
What do you mean by manscaping?
Manscaping, the art of looking your best. Well, I actually have a book coming out at the end of the year that will focus a lot on it, and my agent and publisher are probably going to kill me for announcing that on the air. But what I will say is that instead of going to the drugstore, spend the extra money and get some quality products like American Crew or like Redken or even something like Mark Anthony. Instead of going to the $10 hair, barber, go to a stylist. Spend the extra money. You're going to end up with a haircut that you like and a haircut that's going to stick with you for longer than a week. And just making sure that you're you're groomed and that you're taking care of your body, because that's what people see. I mean, people always say that women look at shoes on men, and they do, but more than that, they look at a good haircut.
Yeah, you got to look at the whole package. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you want to find out more information, you can follow J.A. Shapira on Twitter, and you can also find him on Facebook as well. Looking forward to that book coming out for the gentleman. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, J.A.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm Fiona Forbes, filling in for Michael Eckford on The Shift on CKNW News Talk 980. We'll be back with more after the break.